Please tell me what that has to do with Merrick Garland.
Is she a porn star?
Oh, Goldman. That's right. He's advising. Okay.
He's advising who? What? You know we're here about
just
AG.
I don't
Point
think
of-
you
point of
know what
order.
you're here
President.
for.
Well, you the one talking about. I guess.
I think your fake eyelashes are messing up.
No, ain't nothing.
Hold on.
Listen,
Order.
Mr. Chairman,
That's beneath
would
even
you
you,
please
Mr. Green.
regain
That's
the
beneath
order
even
of your
you.
committee?
Order.
Please.
There's a point of order.
We have a point of order. Mr. Lynch, state your point.
Mr. Chairman, I would just like to ask the parliamentarian if your conduct here in raising money in connection with this hearing is referable to the Ethics Committee within this hearing. Is a motion in order to refer your conduct and your abuse of
It's not a
process?
point of order. not a
Mr.
point
I
of
do
order.
have a point of order, and I would like to move to take down Ms. Green's words. That is absolutely unacceptable. How dare you
meeting will
attack the
suspend.
physical
Meeting will
appearance of another
suspend.
person?
Are your
Move
feelings hurt?
her words down.
Aw.
Oh, girl, baby girl.
Oh, really?
Don't even play. with
Baby
me.
girl?
We're gonna,
I don't
We
think
are going to
so.
move, and we're going to take your words down.
I
Thank you very
second that motion.
Ms. Green, do you wish to strike your words?
I have 4 minutes and 21 seconds to speak.
I think we have to do the motion first, and then unless there's another motion, then you'll be recognized again. But I believe there's another motion coming. So, you agree to strike your words?
Yeah, I'll
Okay.
agree.
Ms. Green agrees to strike her words.
I believe she
Chair
should apologize.
recognizes-
No.
Okay,
Apologize.
hold on. Then after Mr. Perry's going to be recognized, then Ms. Green
I'm not
still has 4 minutes and
apologizing.
21
Well,
seconds.
then
Okay,
you're not
reserve the right to
striking your
object.
words.
I am not apologizing.
No, let's not. Come on, guys.
Why don't you debate me?
Mr. Chairman, the
it's
minority.
pretty
No,
self-evident.
You're not.
Yeah, you're
out
not-
of order.
you don't have enough
You're out of order.
intelligence.
Chair recognizes Mr. Perry.
Okay, move to strike
I'd
the.
like to
I
strike
move to
those
strike the
words
lady's
as well.
I move to
I would
strike
like-
The lady's words.
Ms. Green, you asked unanimous consent. Do you agree to unanimous consent to strike your words?
I repeat again for the second time. Yes, I'll strike
right.
my words,
That-
but I'm not
all right.
apologizing.
Without objection. So, Ms. Green asked unanimous consent to strike her words. Mr. Raskin objected. I'm going to recognize Mr. Raskin for his objection. No, we're not counting against. Ms. Green has 4 minutes and 21 seconds left. This will not count against her time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I reserve the right to object. The understanding minority, the gentlelady from Georgia, would move to take her words down and strike her words and to offer a sincere apology for having engaged in another member, offending her personal appearance and insulting her. We don't do that in this committee. And I think the major problem was that we allowed pornography in this committee, and we've gone down a bad road. But in any event, we should not allow face-to-face ad hominem insults. It's totally contrary to the rules of the House of Representatives. And I would ask Ms. Green if she would just make an apology. It's not that complicated. We don't want to get into face-to-face insults.
You will never get an apology out of me. I
Then
don't owe
then
you
I
one.
object. Then I
All right.
object, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Raskins objects.
I think we don't want to see a complete dissent of our committee. And the verbatim quote of the gentlelady was, "I think your fake eyelashes are messing up your reading." That is what she said. I think your fake eyelash, and that's obviously engaging the personality. Ask every member of this committee in a fair-minded way, would you want to be talked to in that way about your personal appearance by another member of the committee? Because what we're doing is we're setting standards going forward.
I'm just curious, just to better understand your ruling. If someone on this committee then starts talking about somebody's bleach blonde, bad built butch body, that would not be engaging in personalities, correct?
A what now?
Chairman, I make a motion to strike those words.
I don't think that's
Hold on.
I'm
parliament.
trying to find clarification on what qualifies.
Chairman, motion to strike
I had no
those
idea
words.
what you just said.
We're not gonna do this. Look, you guys earlier literally just
I-
said
you
no.
just voted to do
Y'all did
it.
it first, so you don't want to talk about it.
voted to do it.
Order.
I'm trying to get
Okay.
clarification.
Look it, calm down. Calm
No,
down.
because this
I
is
will
what
let
y'all
you get through
do.
proceedings.
So I'm trying
Hey,
to get
Ms.
clarification.
Crockett, you're not
Y'all wanna
recognized.
play
Ms.
games.
I can't hear
Crockett.
you with your
And
yelling.
You don't want
calm
me to
down.
Be,
Can
no,
you please calm
don't
down?
tell me to calm down.
Calm down.
Because y'all
Please
talk
calm
noise,
down.
and then you
You're
can't
out of
take
control.
Because if I
Look,
come,
Chairman,
if I
can
come
we
and
send
talk
a
about
break
her,
for 5
y'all
minutes?
gonna have a
Mr.
problem.
Chairman, Mr. Chairman.
Who wants to take a whack at this? I I mean, these are people are elected.
But this just goes to the whole thing we're talking about all day today, that how far have
That is freaking hilarious. Like, Congress saying what they really want to say to each other. And whatever your criticisms of Marjorie Taylor Greene is, she is not afraid to speak her mind. She's told Dr. Fauci multiple times he should rot in a prison cell. She calls people from Atlanta ghetto or wherever. I don't know where that congresswoman was from. But yeah, let's go ahead and get straight into it. You know, General Milley is sweating bullets because they're telling when he talked to China and gave China a warning saying, we'll let you know when Trump's going to do something. We'll let you know. Allegedly, that's what happened. Let's listen to Steve Bannon, a political prisoner that was just released. You know, he was charged, I think, with contempt of Congress. Democrats have been charged with that for so long. Had Eric Holder, the Attorney General under Obama. Let's see here. Yeah, I'll go ahead and play this video. Sorry about the audio freak out earlier, but we're MAGA. We don't give up. We figure it out. I'm going to figure out the software. I'm going to conquer it. It's going to be the biggest, beautiful software in the world. It's going to be so beautiful. It's going to be lovely.
Your thoughts, particularly the Defense Department, where right now they're going through and they have their lawyers saying, oh, we really got to figure out what's a lawful order.
I was saying we're going to conquer the software. Sorry about it being crazy earlier. It's going to be the biggest, most beautiful software in the world. We're going to figure it out. It's going to be great.
We go through this with Milley. And my strongest recommendation to the president, I think Mike Davis would support this, is to on day one, recall General Milley to active duty, which the president's commander-in-chief has full authority to recall him to active duty and make him face a court-martial him. And let's see what a military tribunal says about Milley's activity as chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff from June of, let's pick some random dates, from June of 2020 until the 19th, the 20 high noon on the 20th of January of 2021. Eric Prince, your thoughts?
Yeah, he acknowledges that he was in contact with the Chinese counterparts. Is that really within the Constitution for him to be doing that? I don't think so. That's not his role. Look, there needs to be a culling of the senior ranks. You have as many general officers now as we did during World War II when we had 10 times as many troops. So there's a reason we have so much bureaucracy and so much ineptitude. It's because it's a massive blob of a committee. President Trump needs to consolidate and severely reduce the massive Pentagon bloat, both civilian population and especially amongst general officers and colonels. We need a lot more teeth and a lot less tail. You have about 12 tail for every tooth you have in the Pentagon right now. So the whole Pentagon needs to go on a diet, including Mark Milley.
Get that up. What about this over the Pentagon? They're going through right now and getting the lawyers to see about the quote-unquote lawful orders. How intense is the obstruction?
To give you context about this, Donald Trump has created a woke board. Every woke general in the United States military, he's going to put them on this board and review their behavior and see if they're ready for combat excellence. And if they're not, they're fired. And this is already something that I think this is just pure executive authority. I don't think he needs any congressional authority whatsoever for that. And let's see, somebody had said earlier, yeah, Kelly, that is the alert box. I think it's muted now. Let me know if y'all hear the ding. I've got, who do I have? I've got Facebook on my multi-chat. I've got Twitch. I've got my horizontal YouTube, but not my vertical. That's where all the fun, crazy people are. I love all y'all. Y'all are all fun, crazy people in a good way. But,
of President
let's see what happens to Mark Milley.
President Trump, as he tries to put in America First policies in the Pentagon, he has not announced his Pentagon, his Secretary of Defense. He has announced that Congressman Walz will be National Security Advisor. Marco Rubio will be the Secretary of State. But talk to me about the Pentagon itself at the second and third tiers going through right now and trying to Trump-proof the Pentagon.
Well, first, let me talk about Mike Waltz. It's a fantastic pick, and just contrast him to Jake Sullivan, who was a Senate staffer who never did anything difficult or dangerous in his life. He literally hung around the swamp and floated to the surface, versus Mike Waltz, who is a combat leader. His men loved him, served well in Army Special Forces. That's the right person to be helping guide the president's policy about sending people, committing troops or not, as to what is America's interest. The second and third layer of bureaucracy in the Pentagon, look, the whole thing needs a massive culling. They're used to kind of doing their own thing because you have an entire military that has got used to a culture of no accountability. No one's been fired for the debacle that's Afghanistan or Somalia or Yemen or any of these things. So nobody's used to being fired. There's nothing like a massive firing that needs to reshape their minds and reshape their thinking. If we had significantly few officers after that, fine, because there's a lot more than we need right now. And I would rather have those funds applied to actually next generation lethality. That should be the mission of the Pentagon, not to how green they are or social engineering or ESG or DEI or anything like that. It is how well you can slay the enemies of the United States if it comes to that, because that's what actually builds.
That's exactly what it's about. And you used to have generals that had like 1 or 2 pins, and they literally had stormed the beach of Normandy. I mean, not generals at that time, but were promoted to generals. And now we got people that don't even go into combat, and their whole chest is just like full of stripes and these participation awards. And with General Milley, again, the word is that his inside circle is saying, you got to get this guy court-martialed. What he did is inexcusable. Like, there's some things that people can get by with, but communicating with China is not one of those things. There's so much that happened today. You know, there's some Trump appointees that I like, some that I don't. But, you know, what's interesting, every weakness of each appointee, I like them overall, first of all, as I was saying earlier, but every weakness is in an area that they have no control over, which is great. I'm the biggest fan. I meant to mention this on stream last night. Rubio used to be a war hawk. He might still be, but he's going to be Secretary of State, and his job's going to be to find a diplomatic solution. And it's not going, the primary goal is not to create war. So I'm glad he's there. And actually his Liberty score is raised quite a bit. So we're going to talk about Matt Gaetz being the FBI director and the Attorney General laying the smackdown on Christopher Wray, the FBI director. I'm sure he'll be fired. Just so much going on. This is the biggest disappointment of today, but Trump's already got some concessions out of this guy. He was so he had Scott was the best, Rick Scott, Florida. Thune, second best option, worse, like way worse. And then Cornyn was the absolute worst. Now, I did the numbers. There's 48 U.S. Republican senators in this Congress. Now, you know, we're going to go into a new Congress. There's going to be 54. I think it's 54. But there was 48, and out of 48, this dude was number 44 as the most liberal out of all the Republicans. And he's been there, I think, 18 years. And there is truth that the longer you've been there, you understand the rules better, you can get deals done. But at what cost, though? At what cost when you have to become a rhino, right? And that's what I've worried about with Trump. When in 2016, he stood on the stage and he said, I don't want your money, I don't need your money, and that's why they hate me. They can't control me. And I still believe that's 99% true today. Now, he did take some money from some donors that I wish he wouldn't have. But, he did get ate up with $1 billion in legal fees. They're going to come back. He's going to get all that money back. But here's John Thune. I actually haven't even heard this again because I was trying to explain earlier. I do digital media for a living. I do ads for people and stuff, and I get calls last minute. And it's been a crazy day. But let's listen to what Thune, let's see if he has a decent defense for himself for being a rhino.
Good afternoon, and thank you all for being here. It's a new day in the United States Senate, and it's a new day in America. The American people have loudly rejected the failed policies of the Biden, Harris, Schumer agenda. And this Republican team is united. We are on one team. We are excited to reclaim the majority and to get to work with our colleagues in the House to enact President Trump's agenda. We have a mandate from the American people, a mandate not only to clean up the mess left by the Biden-Harris-Schumer agenda, but also to deliver on President Trump's priorities. We will make sure that the President and his team have the tools and the support that they need to enforce border security laws and to remove the violent criminals who are wreaking havoc in every one of our states. We will work to make America prosperous again by streamlining the bureaucratic machine and overturning costly Biden-Harris regulations. And we will work to restore American energy dominance. Not just our energy security, but energy dominance, which will lower costs and bolster our national security. I'm excited to get...
You can believe a rhino when they say that because they're all about the money. Like they may not have the Democrat morals, they may not care for abortion, but if you can come up with some kind of war and fill their pockets full of gold, or if you can get some kind of business interest going, they're all for it. Which I'm super pro oil. I'm super pro, we got natural gas underneath America, like liquid gold, Trump calls it literally. Yeah, hell yeah, let's do that. I mean, why are we outsourcing our waste to China and Venezuela? The oil down there, I mean, no offense, but we've got to process it and it's not clean. And not that our oil, we can't even process ours because the EPA has had so many regulations. You can get in the beginning of a Republican administration and you can just say, okay, this guy is so good, he's going to win 8 years. There's so many regulations to building an oil refinery in the United States that they won't even touch it. If they know they have 8 years with a Republican president and a Republican's cool with it, he's like, yeah, oil, let's do oil. But the deep state bureaucrat regulatory state is so much, you got to go through so many loopholes. Not even 8 years will they build a refinery. The last refinery in the U.S., I think, was early 70s, and they're always at 90%. We're always 95-ish% in terms of refining oil. And it is true that we can't refine our own oil. We have refineries for other people's oil. So we just export our oil to control the global market and geopolitics, which... You could say there's some good in that. I'm not sure it's completely good, but believe him when he says we're going to get some oil. I do believe that.
Get to work with this team right away. And I want to thank my colleagues who placed their faith in me to serve as leader, and to those who were supporting another candidate. I promise to be a leader who serves the entire Republican conference. We'll have an ambitious agenda, and we'll take each and every Republican working together to be successful.
The best news about this is he's not Cornyn. Mitch McConnell had been grooming Cornyn to be the next anti-Trump. And this guy, I still don't think he's great, but at least we've got the concession. He's already pledged that there will be Senate recess where Trump can appoint his people without Senate confirmation. And since Republicans have the majority, they get to call when the recess is. And if you weren't on last night, I had mentioned this. They did Trump dirty his first term. This has been a rule for about 100 years that, need parliamentarians. There's so many rules in the Senate, in the House. Like they need special attorneys to communicate with the regular attorneys because the rules are so darn complicated. Anyways, the last time Trump was in office, they wouldn't let him appoint his people when they went on recess. And we've been allowing that for 100 years. So now Trump's going to get a fair shot. If the Democrats are like, there's no way we're going to vote for this, we're going to filibuster, we're not going to confirm Matt Gaetz as the Attorney General. Well, you know what? The Senate's just going to call a recess, and you're not going to have a chance to filibuster, and Trump is going to appoint them, and they're going to be in their official capacity while you were, who knows, probably raising money, because that's what Congress does all the time. So that's excellent news. All these people are going to get sworn in really quickly. Let's see if there was, what was the headline here? Okay, that was just his statement. You know, a few people broke. I was happy to see, even though, you know, we got this guy, it is what it is. He's a Senate Majority Leader now. Ted Cruz changed his mind. He was actually receptive to voters. So did Marsha Blackburn. This is what I meant. When you call these people out, and what's crazy is Ted Cruz just won re-election. He's not up for re-election for another 6 years. And he knows that some people will remember that long. Most people won't. But the people that do can be a real thorn in his side, like metaphorically speaking, electorally speaking. So he changed his mind. I think a couple others changed their mind and said they were voting for Rick Scott. But this is the most terrifying picture of all, is him next to Zelensky. We got to end that war. Trump has a plan to end the war. The plan to end the war is to put a heavy militarized zone, a buffer zone in Ukraine that's further away from the Ukraine border. I do think they're going to give some of the land to Russia, but at this point, Russia's already in like western Ukraine. There's nothing, I mean, if you want to go full World War III, that's your options. Like, that's the two options on the table right now. We can go full World War III or give part of eastern Ukraine to Russia because they were worried about us being on their border anyways, and I just wanted people to stop dying, the same as Donald Trump wants. But this guy right here, let's not let him get away with any spending packages. Well, I'll have to keep y'all updated if he tries to get on any spending. Let's see what we got here this morning. Yeah, that was Ted Cruz. So many stories. There's just a lot today. Let's see. I've got some good ones. We're going to get to them in here in just a minute. These must have been, okay, yeah. So this guy, people are hating on this new defense secretary because he's a Fox News anchor. This dude has 8 medals from combat. He's highly decorated. He went to Harvard University. He went to Princeton University. He is strong anti-communist. You do not have to worry about like communist military infestation with this guy. He's very anti-communist. And he has supported Trump since 2016. He was kind of like me. I said last night, you know, I wasn't sure about Trump until 2018. Somebody said, "You voted for Hillary?" And I didn't see it in the chat, but no. I voted for Ted Cruz in the primary, and Ted Cruz didn't win the primary. Trump did, and then I voted for Trump. And I was like, you know what? We'll see how he does, because he was something new. He's an outsider, and he did great. He did amazing. He's less of an outsider now, so he's had to make some concessions, but that's just the swamp, man. That's why you got to have term limits, because the longer you stay there, you keep. The first thing you ask for is free. The second thing you ask for, you're going to have to make some concessions to the swamp people. And it's not good. But his mindset, I was listening to him talk last night. I'll see if I can find this clip. China is specifically gearing their military to go to war with us. The most terrifying thing, and hopefully we've beat this and it's classified and we just don't know about it, but it's been talked about widely. China has zero-day exploits in all of our infrastructure. If you're not familiar with what a zero-day exploit is, it is malware that has been in existence for 0 days, so there's been no opportunity to patch it. So China has, and it's been found in our infrastructure, so it's not just theory. It's been found in different parts of our infrastructure. Their goal, their plan, if we were to go to war with China in the South China Sea, they want to take out the entire United States power grid at once. They want to take out the entire United States railroad systems at once. They want to be able to take out all of the traffic lights, everything, like the whole infrastructure. And there's some estimates where you could have 90% of Americans dead in 3 months under that situation. Because, I mean, how many people have a farm where they're growing food and they can protect themselves if somebody tries to come raid them? Or, you know, water. Can they purify water? So that's a terrifying concern. And this guy knows that. He's not going to have people walking around like doing the crazy woke outfits that I'll just keep it vague and not get demonetized. But he knows what's up. He knows that we've got to get ready for China. I mean, yes, Russia, China, they're aligned. But I don't think Russia is going to help China that much. We'll see. I think if it's between us and China, you know, we'll see. So I wanted to get you the Liberty score here. Again, this is at heritageaction.com/scorecard. I'm going to go back, and then I'm going to come back to this. This will show you which issues they voted on. Let's see. Did it keep everybody selected? No, it didn't. Okay, I'll go back forward then. It was supposed to keep everybody selected. So this is the Heritage Action position, and they are, by my standards, extremely conservative, which I consider myself that as well. Very conservative, about as conservative as J.D. Vance, who's the fourth most conservative. So all of these senators, including Marco Rubio, let's keep an eye on Marco Rubio here, because again, he is the guy that talked the most crap about Trump, and Trump talked the most crap about him back in 2015, back in 2016. And you could argue that it's a strength and a weakness of Donald Trump. You could argue that it's both. He does, if people if they did something to betray Trump, but then they showed signs of loyalty, and then they showed signs of being his friend and act like their actual acts of friendship, he will accept them. So you can say, again, it's a weakness and a strength, both. So Marco Rubio, his score now, I look back at his Liberty score, it's much higher. So he was voting with Donald Trump and getting Donald Trump's agenda passed a lot of the time that he was in Congress. Or when Trump was in office and he was in Congress. So they all voted for the Child Safety Act. That's good. Emergency National Security Supplemental Appropriations. Who knows what's in that? I kind of want to click on that, but I'm a policy nerd. Let's see how many pages this is. Okay, it's not the full bill. Okay. Let's just see what it is. As a whole, this is, okay, this was aid to 13 billion to Israel, 9 billion to Gaza. Just more military aid, man. We're just spending all our money on other countries. I mean, God bless Israel, but goodness gracious, just so much money being spent. Okay, so they were down. They were saying, don't spend the money. Looks like John Thune spent the money. And Kennedy, he's got a Liberty score like 50. I'm disappointed in Kennedy. Again, he's so freaking hilarious. I love how hilarious he is, but he's actually a bit of a rhino. His score is. Very proud of Senator Marsha Blackburn. She's very conservative. She's got a high score. Rand Paul, he's up there. He's in the 80s. He's got like an 85. Actually, surprisingly, Marsha Blackburn has a higher Liberty score than does Rand Paul. I was very surprised by that. Tommy Tupperville, he's very conservative. This Senator Scott, he was, going for the majority, the leader that he had lost today. Cruz is up there. Hawley's still number 2 or number 3 most conservative. Bill Haggerty, who was voting for Scott, he was in the previous Trump administration. I forgot what role he was. He was in the executive branch. He's great. I worked with him in Tennessee. I wasn't in his department. I was in a different department, but I saw him, said hello to him occasionally. And, it's crazy how some people are just really gifted and they get super wealthy and they're still humble. But some people get super wealthy and they, it gets to their head. He's one of the former. We're not going to go through this whole list. We're just going to look at a few more of these big ones here. Voted to dismiss articles of impeachment against Mayorkas. So who voted to... Okay, they all wanted to impeach Mayorkas. All of these people up here. That's good. Let's see if there's any other huge ones. Then we're going to move on. Foreign aid. Who voted for foreign aid? Thune voted for foreign aid. Okay. Equal Rights Amendment. Overturning Biden's regulation to use the VA to provide abortions. They all voted for that. That's good. I mean, most of these are actually, these big rules, they're voting exactly how the heritage would like. I know some of y'all might find this boring, but you need to know how your people vote. All right? Like, I love the shit talking, the smack talking in politics as well. I mean, I enjoy that. But you need to know the policy stuff too, and I don't shy away from that because that's Stephen Miller is the assistant. I think it's called the assistant White House Chief of Staff, or maybe it's deputy White House Chief of Staff. And someone had asked him, "How do you close the border? How do you secure the nation?" He said, "The simple answer: you build a wall." And you just deport everybody. And then he said, well, here's the complicated answer. And he named off like 10 policies you have to get passed. And that's the truth. You got to have policy wonks. And MAGA, thankfully, so people like J.D. Vance, like Stephen Miller, they're MAGA 2.0. They're extremely high IQ. They're extremely conservative. They know the federal code very, very well. And they know how certain laws can be kind of loopholed. But I mean, Democrats do too, some of the wonky policy Democrats. So it's good that we are getting on that and embracing that. There used to be in the Republican Party, don't be an elitist. Well, you can be a super intelligent and not be an elitist. That's my opinion anyways. Okay, so we'll keep going here. Let's see. Is Judge Joe Brown about to expose somebody?
Meeting when we all went to bed, and then we woke up a few hours later, and these very small percentages that hadn't reported all of a sudden flipped over, and now Biden is winning. You see, that looked very nasty. So
Wait a minute. Tom Ellis is saying, I didn't say a word about how Biden sold us out. Biden sold us out all the time, man. I'm a big critic of Biden. If you watch me regularly, you know that I'm like, I dislike 98% of Democrats at the federal level and 95% of Republicans. And why does it sound like I'm going so hard on Republicans tonight? I want to be honest about these people Trump is picking, and I think they're mostly great. But I want people to not get disengaged. If you get disengaged right now, we don't get the things done that we want to get done. And you're like, what can I do? Well, I voted already. Well, we've got to pressure Congress to say, hey, you're not going to get reelected if you don't get Trump's agenda done. But no, absolutely, Biden was awful. But, I do think there was a post the other day. We'll get back to Mr. Brown here in a minute. A White House staffer, a Biden White House staffer said Biden did not write the letter that he dropped out of the election. He didn't even know it got posted to social media. Allegedly, he had a medical emergency, and he had to go to the hospital really quickly while he was on the campaign tour. I think it was in Nevada, maybe Las Vegas, if I recall correctly. And the allegation is that that letter of him saying, I'm not going to run for re-election, it's not his signature. And he didn't write it. So what are the implications of that? Well, they wanted to have an open primary and challenge different Democrats and pick the best Democrat. They didn't want Kamala Harris, from what I'm now learning, because, we all know that she was an idiot, is an idiot. Biden might have dementia, but he was always more politically capable than she is, even if he is a Democrat. But he, instead of letting them have this is how he helped Trump win. Even though I hated his policies, he destroyed our border, so many, people dead from the fentanyl crisis, but he forced Kamala into running. He endorsed her. They didn't ask Biden to endorse Kamala Harris. He did it to force her to run. This is my belief. I'm hypothesizing, looking back at this, how it all went down and hearing about this letter. And then secondarily, right before the election on national television, he said Trump supporters are garbage. I don't think that was a dementia slip up. You can say it is, maybe, but I think he hates Kamala Harris, and he was making sure she lost the election.
I imagine that what we have is a mainstream media that has learned a little bit over the last 4 years, though that's a long attention span for them.
And all that's like $6, $7, $8 per unit. With $50.
So he's got to sell some stuff hardcore. They just, apparently InfoWars is now like, the auction is over and it's been sold. So I think he's just running off his name now. I'm not sure exactly how he's doing that. But, yeah, they're taking everything from him because he decided to speak out. And that's the Marxists for you right there. They hate free speech and they're trying to take over the world. And apparently in the UK, you can get 15 years for watching far-right propaganda, whatever the heck that is. President Trump just announced Marco Rubio, Secretary of State. Great honor to announce Senator Marco Rubio of Florida hereby nominated to be the U.S. Secretary of State. Highly respected leader, powerful voice for freedom, strong advocate for our nation. Yeah, he was born in 71, Miami. Yeah, he will be able to get some good things done in South America, I think. I think him being Cuban, he understands the socialist contagion in South America. I mean, anybody, if they study it, they can understand it, but he's got family that's experienced it. And that's why, Miami, Florida is so based. They're this huge metropolitan city that voted for Donald Trump. I think it might be the only metropolitan city over 1 million that voted for Donald Trump, because they know what communism is. And capitalism, the bread lines up for you. And communism, you line up for the bread. It's a whole different thing. So they know what's up. So I think he'll do some good in that. And again, even though he might be a war hawk, being the Secretary of State is the diplomatic role. I mean, I'm not saying that the secretaries of state don't talk about war, but ideally their goal is to have diplomacy. So you put a war hawk in diplomacy. To me, that is not allowing his weakness to shine in his role. We'll see how that plays out, but that's my hypothesis about that. And he has a statement here. He says, leading the U.S. Department of State, tremendous responsibility, and I'm honored to be by the trust President Trump has placed in me. As Secretary of State, I will work every day to carry out his foreign policy agenda. Under the leadership of President Trump, we will deliver peace through strength and always put the interest of Americans and America above all else. I look forward to earning the support of my colleagues in the U.S. Senate so the President has his national security and foreign policy team in place when he takes office on January 20th. Patriotic Ape says, I don't agree with Trump's pick. I think you're a Swamp Thing. Please prove me otherwise. Just remember America first, not Israel first. We're so proud of you, says Representative Carlos Gimenez. He must be, I think he's Texas. I believe he's Texas. Everybody believes he's a rhino. I think he's had a past of being a rhino. But again, I don't think he has the position, or as much position to start war as a Secretary of State. What was the article here I was wanting to look for? Apparently all of the Biden White House staff were like sick to their stomach when Trump showed up.
I were sitting here as Caitlin was on looking at that imagery, and it's really stunning. Those are Biden staffers. They're in the EOB. Some of them are lower level, some of them perhaps a little bit higher. But they're there to watch a history moment being made that nobody standing there wanted.
Oh yeah, they don't look too happy out there, do they? I mean, they're all so woke and afraid of people that are like different than them. At Harvard, they're having to get class out early and cancel classes because the students are like suffering woke meltdowns. I have a camera that auto frames me. Sometimes I end up way over here, way over there, so got to move around a bit. But let's see. Yeah, this is a good publication, the Gateway Pundit. I mean, if you're conservative, they're conservative leaning. I'm not saying they're neutral. You want to go somewhere neutral? Real Clear Politics is slightly left leaning, but mostly neutral. The Federalist is really good. They're actually like constitutionalist neutral. They might seem conservative, but they're like contextualist constitutionalist. They're really good. Let's see. Trump wins again. Kamala Harris proves beyond all doubt that 2020 was something bad happened in 2020. I mean, this is interesting. Democrats are asking questions. Where did all those 12 million votes go? I'm hoping they show some Democrat posts. I've been seeing them everywhere. Okay, they're not showing it in this, but I've been seeing that on X all day. People were like, okay, what if Democrats are like, what if something bad did happen in 2020? Because where did those 12 million votes go that Kamala Harris did not get, and that no other Democrat has gotten except Joe Biden, which is a really interesting proposition. Yeah, Mitch McConnell, they say he's a Mitch McConnell lackey. I think he is. He's not as much as Cornyn. Trump hater, warmonger. We'll see how it goes. He's definitely not as good. He's not who we wanted, but I'm glad it's not Cornyn. I'm glad it is not Cornyn. I wonder if my chat froze over there on YouTube. It looks like I've got a lot of views, but I'm froze up. We'll see how that's going to turn out. Anyways, Tulsi Gabbard, Director of National Intelligence. Beautiful thing. She is, I think, really going to, keep the nation safe, and she's so anti-war. This is another example, I'll say. She is I think she's pro-abortion. I don't know. I think she might be big government spending in some ways. I'm not sure. But I do know for a fact that she is anti-war hardcore. Oh, I see people talking chat. What's up, y'all? So with her being anti-war, even if she has other liberal positions, being put in this role of national intelligence, my understanding of the role of national intelligence is it's kind of like a preemptive, like preparation for anything bad that could happen to the U.S. I'm pleased to announce the former Congresswoman Lieutenant Colonel Tulsi Gabbard will serve as Director of National Intelligence. For over 2 decades, she's fought for our country and the freedoms of all Americans. As a former candidate for the Democratic president nomination, she's brought support from both parties. She's now a proud Republican. I know Tulsi will bring the fearless spirit that has defined her illustrious career to our intelligence community, championing our constitutional rights and securing peace through strength. Let's see what people are saying about her. This guy, Ivan Raikin right here, he calls himself the Secretary of Retribution, and I think the deep state is terrified of him because he has a list of like 300 people who he says have committed treason, and I'm not even going to say some of the things he says, but if you want to follow somebody interesting, follow Ivan, he was a Green Beret in the military, lawyer, Secretary of Retribution. Interesting self-title. This person says he picks people who's been screwed over by an agency and puts them in charge of it. I can't stop laughing. That's true. They screwed her after she, I can't remember the exact debate she had with Hillary Clinton, but she embarrassed Hillary Clinton. And as soon after she embarrassed Hillary Clinton, she was on this really super specific watch list, like high-level government watch list. So here she is in the military, lieutenant colonel. I'm assuming she had the same rank then. Maybe she was lower, not 100% sure. And she's going through these checkpoints where they're having to literally, I don't know how far they went, but it sounds like, going to the back room and everything, you're checking everything. So that's what Hillary Clinton did to her after she embarrassed Hillary Clinton. And not only that, Hillary Clinton also froze her campaign funds or her Google account. She was unallowed to run Google ads for like 6 months after the primary debate. And it's just weaponization. Look here, Trump was probably trolling some people. He's joking about a 3rd term. And here's some deep... They're so petty. FBI seizes electronics from Polymarket CEO after Trump win prediction. I mean, I think that Polymarket fueled a lot of the hype for Trump, and it got conservatives enthusiastic, or at least all the conservatives I saw on X. It got me enthusiastic. So anything that is like information positive for conservatives, they're trying to come after. They were going to try to come after X again. They're saying that they're going to charge Elon 5% or some crazy fine if he lets Trump continue to speak on X. That's Australia. I mentioned that last night. This guy, just because he's not even an American, so I don't know what country he's from, but wherever he's from, the betting market that he runs is legal, or his country would have arrested him. But he comes here and, he has something that showed Trump was going to win, and Trump won, and people got more and more hyped about it. So, yeah, they take his electronics. Just because he helped people get hyped for Trump winning. I don't know, he could have done something else wrong, but let's be honest, it's always conservatives getting targeted. And you have the guy that is the Democrat, the second most donated to anybody, the Democrats, and he still might get out on appeal. I see a Democrat named Hunter Weirmoth hating and you're just helping my chat and you're helping my stream get more viewers. So I appreciate you, bro. I appreciate you, little buddy. So yeah, man, they're picking on this guy. President Trump and Joe Biden share smile as press gets out of control. Well, it's not very loud. That's a weird looking video. They look weird. I wonder if the texture was improved. He looks way happier than Obama looked. If you look at Obama and when he was when he was sitting next to Trump. And what's funny, the last words Trump said when he left Washington, D.C., he said, "I hope you have a good life. I'll see y'all soon." And he came back. Second president in United States history to win 2 non-consecutive terms. He's now at this point, his lead kept growing in California. At first, he was the best Republican performance in 100 years. Now it's like 130 years. And I'm trying to think, like, we can't go too much further back because then that's the beginning of the Republican Party. I don't think he'd outshine Lincoln, but apparently he outshined whoever was all the way back to 1890. That's somewhere around Roosevelt's time. Roosevelt might have been early, like 1900s, somewhere in there, roughly in there. So I just want to hear Matt Gaetz talk trash to A.G. Garland because he's fearless in Congress. And I've heard some people in D.C. say, you know, he's just trying to make a name for himself, that he's not really passionate about some of the things he says. I'm not sure I believe that. I think he, like, knows these people are, like, the swamp, and maybe he's just trying to stay in office, and that's his way to flex. But he's pretty savage.
Attorney General, you've told us that it's a dangerous conspiracy theory to allege that the Department of Justice is communicating with the...
I see Lee. What's up, Lee? Roosevelt, 1940. The other Roosevelt, so Theodore, not Franklin. He's Theodore's like somewhere in there, early 1900.
These state and local prosecutions against Trump. You can clear it all up for us right now. Will the Department of Justice provide to the committee all documents, all correspondence between the department and Alvin Bragg's office and Fonnie Willis's office and Letitia James's office?
The offices you're referring to are independent offices of state.
I get that. I get that.
State.
The question is whether or not you will...
Oh, I'm sorry, y'all. I want to read this is an important comment, I think, from Catherine in Australia on Facebook. If you're an American, listen to this. This is what we avoided. If you're a liberal just on the left, but you're not like a communist, you're not insane, listen to what we avoided by not picking Kamala Harris. And we've got to pray for Australia and Europe because they're in the thick of it. Yeah, we've got a mis- and disinformation bill here in Australia about to be passed before Christmas. SOS. You know, that's like so foreign to us because we have the Bill of Rights. We're so damn lucky that we were born, you know, there's 8 million people on Earth, billion. There's nearly 9 billion people on Earth now, but we're the 300 million that was born here in the U.S. That's like a 5% chance. We were born in the land with a Bill of Rights, where the people that fought and died and bled, they said God gave us our rights, not the government, not some stuffy guy in a suit on the 3rd floor in Washington, D.C. God gave us our rights. I'm thankful that we're born here, and I'm praying for you, Catherine, because, You're saying huge fines and jail terms for misinformation and disinformation. That's like some communism, like intro stuff right there. Yeah, they're going crazy. Come on over here. You know, get you go to the port of entry and get you a visa and head over this way.
We'll provide all of your documents and correspondence. That's the question. I don't need a history lesson.
Well, I'm going to say again, we do not control those offices. They make their own
The question is whether
decisions.
you communicate with them, not whether you control them. Do you communicate with them, and will you provide those communications?
If you make a request, we'll refer it to our Office of Legislative Affairs.
But see, here's the thing.
They
You
will
come in
respond
here and you
appropriately.
lodge this attack that it's a conspiracy theory, that there is coordinated lawfare against Trump. And then when we say, fine, just give us the documents, give us the correspondence, and then if it's a conspiracy theory, that will be evident. But when you say, well, we'll take your request, and then we'll sort of work it through the DOJ's accommodation process, then you're actually advancing the very dangerous conspiracy theory that you're concerned about. Now, you were a judge, once nominated to the highest court in our country. When you were a judge, I'm just curious, did you ever make political donations to partisan candidates?
No.
No, and you didn't because that would create the potential appearance of impropriety.
I didn't because there's a federal rule barring federal judges from making contributions.
Right, but under that same theory of attacks on the judicial process, like, shouldn't someone be owed like a jury of their peers and a judge that's non-biased rather than getting a judge from your political opponent's donor file?
I'm well aware that you're not asking a hypothetical. You're asking me to comment on a jury verdict in another jurisdiction which has to be respected. I won't comment on it. That case is still ongoing. The defendant
Mr.
has
Attorney General,
indicated-
I hadn't asked you about the verdict yet. We were getting there. I was talking about the judge. And so let me ask you this question about your time as a judge. Was there ever a time when you were a judge when you had a family member who was personally profiting off of the notoriety of a case that was before your court?
Look, I'm going to say again, it's very clear you're asking me to comment on a case in another jurisdiction.
No, wait, hold on, Mr. Attorney General. Did you ever have a family member profit off of the notoriety of any case that you sat over?
Say again, you're asking
Yes or no?
You're asking me to comment on a case currently.
Well, it seems you're
before
connecting the
another
dots,
court.
Mr. Attorney General. I'm just asking you as to a general principle, but you are aware that Judge Merchan's daughter was profiting off of this prosecution. You are aware that that creates the appearance of impropriety. You know the very reason there's a federal rule against judges giving donations is because it is the very attack on the judicial process that we're concerned about.
I'm sorry.
They're so damn corrupt. Judge Merchan, I don't know. We're going to check in on that in a minute. I think he's either, I heard something earlier. He's either dropping the charges or he's holding on. I don't know what he's thinking. Any of these judges who are not dropping these charges, they're complete idiots. Because if they throw Trump in jail, I mean, apparently, or allegedly, he's got sentencing on November 26th, which, what is that, 13 days. You want to be a judge and throw the future president in jail? Because you know what's going to happen. On the way to jail, the Supreme Court's going to say, hold up, little buddy. You can't do that. You can't put the chief of the entire executive branch, the president, you know, you got that. It's funny. You got 3 million people in the executive branch, and the executive power is held in one person according to the U.S. Constitution. It says the president shall hold the executive power. It doesn't say Garland. It doesn't say all the snakes in DHS. It says the president. So they think they're going to put the entire executive branch in prison and the Supreme Court's not going to stop them? And then when Trump is not in prison and then he is inaugurated as the president, he's not going to give them hell for trying to weaponize the government against him first? I mean, at least Jack Smith is smart enough to bow out. He's quitting. He's not waiting for Trump to come after him. He's quitting. And I don't blame him because he knows he's corrupt. He's had his cases overturned his whole life.
Sorry, I don't agree with anything you just said, but I'm not going to comment on it.
Okay, so you won't comment on it, Mr. Attorney General, but you had no problem dispatching Matthew Colangelo. Who's Matthew Colangelo?
That is false. I did not dispatch Matthew Colangelo.
Matthew
That's
Colangelo.
false.
Matthew
False.
Colangelo.
Billy's saying something about like civil things happening. I'm not going to say that word did not get demonetized, but no, I was just saying the Supreme Court will stop them. Like they think that the Supreme Court's not going to stop because it's the whole 50 United States. One state cannot constitutionally take out the 1/3 of the Constitution. You can't do it.
Colangelo became the Assistant Attorney General at the very beginning of the Biden administration. Without having been Senate confirmed, goes and gets the senior role at the DOJ, and then after, I believe it's Gupta replaces Colangelo, Colangelo makes this remarkable downstream career journey from the U.S. Department of Justice in Washington, D.C., and then pops up in Alvin Bragg's office to go get Trump. And you're saying...
See, they had people from the DOJ and New York. They sent Washington, D.C. people to New York to get Trump. They sent DOJ people to Atlanta, Georgia to get Trump. And what are the chances that that's just these people's next job? They're like, oh, we're just going to leave the federal government where we literally have like a pension and retirement and like amazing benefits to go work for a state where you don't have as good benefits. You have good, but not as good. Like none of that is chance, bro. None of that is chance. But I mean, you know, that's exactly what they did. It was the whole thing was rigged. And Merchant, his daughter, I want to say, has made $100 million off of fundraising from Democrats. So here's this dude, the judge, persecuting Trump, putting all these gag orders on Trump, while his daughter is running ads on Facebook for Nancy Pelosi and getting paid $5 million. That's a hypothetical, but she did have connections with Democrats that high up. I think she was doing digital stuff for the Obamas. I think some of the Hakeem Jeffries, the House minority leader, very high up Democrats taking millions, while her father, you know, I'm just going to put a gag order on the president while he's running during a campaign so he can't use his First Amendment.
That's just a career choice that was made that has nothing to do with the lawfare coordinated by the DOJ.
I'm saying it's false. I did not dispatch Mr. Colangelo anywhere.
Well, do you know how he ended up there?
I assume he applied for a job there and got the job.
But see, you know what?
I can tell you I had nothing to do with it.
Well, you might not have had anything to do with it, but we've got this contemporaneous evidence in Mr. Pomerantz's book. So Pomerantz writes this book, which I'm sure you're aware of, where he says, we put together the legal eagles to get Trump. We got all these folks together and we assembled them for that purpose. And so when we on the Judiciary Committee think about attacks on the judicial process, our concern is that the facts and the law aren't being followed. A target is acquired, here, Trump, and then you assemble the legal talent from DOJ, Mr. Pomerantz, and you bring everybody in to get him. And meanwhile, the judge is making money on it. The judge is making money on it, or the judge's family is making money on it for stuff that you yourself wouldn't do. You know, no one's going to buy this. No one's going to believe it. It's going to create great disruption. And I am saddened by it because, like you, I have given my life to the law. I care deeply about the law, and I think that the lawfare we've seen against President Trump will do great damage well beyond our time in public service. I see my time's expired. I yield back.
Yeah, it will do great damage. I want to answer a few comments here. Someone is saying these people will never admit their crimes. We all know it. You know, that may be the case. But as much as there are people that did bad things, they legitimately weaponized a non-political entity into a political attack machine. As evil as that is, Trump and his people's first objective is not even that. I mean, it would be justice to look into people that legitimately weaponize the law and politicize it. That would be justice. But what Kash Patel has said, who I think now might be director of FBI, that's the word. Benny Johnson's really close to Kash Patel. He's on there quite a bit. And Benny Johnson says he's heard that that Trump is considering Kash Patel for director of FBI. I really hope so, because I think he is very incorruptible. Him along with the guy that is the CIA director. He was one of the intelligence officers that said, no, the Hunter Biden laptop is not Russian disinformation. You people are crazy. You're literally should lose your security clearance for saying this, to interfere with an election. And then they shut down. It's still so crazy to me to think they shut down the New York Post. Alexander Hamilton, one of the founding fathers, started the New York Post. I mean, this isn't like some kind of crazy far right-wing paper. I mean, they might lean conservative sometimes, but sometimes they attack conservatives pretty hard. So I think they're pretty in the middle. Maybe they're a little bit conservative. But they literally locked down the New York Post's X account. If you shared the story about the Hunter Biden laptop, your account got locked down. I remember like hating Twitter back then. Conservatives would get on it, and then I'd get on it, and I'd get banned immediately. And I'd be like, what's the point of this? And that's kind of how I feel about TikTok right now. I've got 2 accounts. I mean, I said this last night. Nearly 10K, and both got banned for no reason. It's just crazy censorship. But that's one thing Trump might do, is actually get those companies liable to be sued if they take down legal speech. But I was sorry. That was a long ramble about what I was going to get to. Was there is the biggest objective of this Trump administration is to prevent the deep state, the next 100 years, put the checks and balances in place to stop bureaucrats from running the federal government. Because they weren't elected. You don't necessarily know their name. I don't necessarily know their name. They're sitting in some anonymous room, and they're making decisions that affect how much you pay for things. They're making decisions that determines how easy or difficult it is, where you want to educate your child, how you want to educate your child. They're making decisions about what kind of car you're going to be able to drive in a few years. There's so many decisions that our Constitution does not give them the right to make. And we've got to legally dismantle that. And that's going to be the number one priority of the Trump administration. And, you know, if some bad people escape justice, but we can accomplish, we can restore this beautiful republic for the next 100 years and make it have so many checks and balances, it's hard to corrupt, I'll accept that. Maybe everybody won't, but I'll accept that. Catherine says, banks are following us on social media in Australia now, and when the disinformation bill kicks in, so will they. That is horrifying. Imagine having your bank in your social media. That's like some 1984. And this is, I just hate to say this, Catherine, but I almost want the U.S. to leave NATO. I mean, we're the whole freaking thing, and it leaves Europe and Australia more vulnerable. I mean, Australia is very formidable compared to some of other countries in Western Europe. But I almost want that so they would bend their knee to free speech, and then we come back into NATO. I don't want to see anything, happen to Europe, Western Europe, but I mean, if they're not going to accept the U.S. Constitution and they want our military protection, that's such a catch-22. Because again, I don't want anybody to get hurt. I don't want it to cause war in Europe where China might see, or Iran might see, or Russia might see a weakness. But at the same time, Europe is not going to tell the United States we can't have our Bill of Rights. And I'm not talking about the people, the citizens. The leaders, they're not going to tell the United States that they can't have their Bill of Rights. It's our charter document, and it's enshrouded in this land, and it's enshrouded in the people's hearts. That's why this is the greatest Republican victory in 130 years.
Ranking members recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Attorney General, do you want to respond to anything in Mr. Gates' tirade?
I think everything he was talking.
People you convicted was a guy named Charles Lieber, who was a Harvard professor taking $50,000 a month to do China's bidding and give them whatever research was being done. Are you aware of the millions of dollars that moved through Rob Walker's shell companies from Chinese Communist Party entities into Biden family bank accounts? Are you aware of that?
There were a lot of questions that you just asked. Let me start with the first one about North Korea. North Korea is a dangerous actor, both kinetically and with respect to cyber.
But not on par with China. I'm on the Armed Services Committee, Mr. Attorney General. It makes you look unserious to suggest that.
May I answer your question or not?
Answer the question about whether or not you know about all the millions of dollars that
So
moved
you
through
don't
Rob
want me to
Walker's
answer about North Korea?
I already know the answer, and so does everyone. They're not the same risk as China. So let's get on to serious questions and serious answers. Do you know about...
Yeah, China's definitely the bigger risk. I mean, you're asking good questions. You're asking legitimate questions. Rubio, Gates. Well, actually, I would disagree on Gates. Rubio, if you're critical of him, he's publicly stated he's in favor of a lot of war. So I could agree to be critical of him, but I've not seen ever Matt Gaetz. Now, if you have the video, you throw a link in the chat if you want. I haven't seen Matt Gaetz be a war hawk. I haven't checked his Liberty score, but I think he's pretty darn conservative.
The American people need to understand what just happened. My Democrat colleague just asked the director of the FBI whether or not they are buying information about our fellow Americans. And the answer is, well, we'll just have to get back to you on that. Sounds really complicated. But I have other questions. I'm sitting here with my father. I will make certain that between the man sitting next to me and every person he knows and my ability to forever hold a grudge, that you will regret not following my direction. I am sitting here waiting for the call with my father. Sounds like a shakedown, doesn't it, Director?
I'm not going to get into commenting on that.
You seem deeply uncurious about it, don't you? Almost suspiciously uncurious. Are you protecting the Bidens?
Absolutely not. The FBI does not and has no interest in
You won't answer the question about whether or not that's a shakedown, and everybody knows why you won't answer it. Because to the millions of people who will see this, they know it is. And your inability to acknowledge that is deeply revealing about you. But let's go from the uncurious to the downright nosy. How many illegal FISA queries have occurred under your leadership of the FBI?
Well, there are reports that have come out with different numbers about compliance incidents.
More than 1 million illegal ones? Because that's what the Inspector General said. The Inspector General said that in the 3.4 million of these queries, more than 1 million were in error. Do you have any basis to disagree with that assessment by the Inspector General?
I'm not sure actually that's a correct characterization of the Inspector General's findings on that.
Well, the internet will remind you of that in moments. But let's now go to...
Let's talk about the FISA court for a minute. I don't know that a lot of people know a lot about the FISA court, so I'm going to just talk about it just a little bit. So the FISA court is where the FBI goes to secretly get warrants to spy on American citizens or to investigate American citizens. And the way it's set up there is no third party. There's the FBI, and then there's the FISA judges. And the judges have acted like they don't, in a lot of circumstances, I'm not saying 100%, but a lot of circumstances, the FISA court judges have acted as if they don't care if they're being lied to or not. They don't demand a high burden of proof or whatever the standard burden is to obtain a warrant. And they've done this to, as he just said, there was over the Inspector General said there's over 1 million that was done, outside of the law or outside of procedure. So that's another thing we've got to get looked at and get fixed, because that's what was used to spy on Donald Trump's campaign and a lot of innocent Americans. NSA, yeah, I mean NSA too, River, for sure. They're literally everything we type on our phones, even if we delete it, they suck it up into these huge, massive data centers. They have the biggest data centers in the world and have like all of human history on the internet stored in their servers. I mean, they even have voice chats from WoW back in like 1998. If I had to guess, I would say so. They were already talking about like storing data back then. And what's crazy, I don't know who's doing this, but there's a huge cyber attack on the web archives. I think the web archives is owned by a nonprofit. Maybe they're a for-profit private company. I don't think they're a government entity. I could be wrong about that. But someone is literally deleting some significant moments in internet history from the web archives. That's kind of 1984 as well. Like, are they going to start deleting dictionaries on the internet? Might be wise to get some, have your own hard drives that are off of networks for your important documents, or have paper books, they never forget about paper books with knowledge too. Let's see, Assange. I think he's free. Is Assange not free? I mean, he looked awful, but I think they finally let him go.
What the court said it was over 200,000 that have occurred on your watch. Do you have any basis to disagree with that assessment?
Again, I don't have the number as I sit here right now. What I can
Seems like a number you should know. How many times the FBI is breaking the law under your watch, especially if it's like over 1 million, to not know that number? And I'm worried about your veracity on the subject as well. Play the video.
Yeah, Billy, somebody has those emails, Billy.
Letters for investigation of the Capitol. I don't believe FISA is remotely implicated in our investigation.
So there, Senator Lee's asking you whether or not FISA was in any way involved in your January 6th investigation, and you say no. Was that truthful?
I said that I did not believe it was.
Okay, so now let's pull up what the court said, which was something a little different than what you said. So here, nope, that's not the right one. Yeah, here we go. Right there, it says, the government has reported additional significant violations of the querying standard, including several relating to the January 6, 2021 breach of the Capitol. So I guess the question, Director Wray, is did you not know when you were answering these questions that the FBI was engaging in these illegal searches, or did you perjure yourself to Senator Lee?
I certainly didn't perjure myself. At the time that I testified in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee, I didn't have that piece of information. I will add...
Well, that was a court order. You didn't have that piece of information because the court hadn't yet rendered a judgment. Did you not know when you gave the untruthful answer before Senator Lee that this was going on?
It was a truthful answer. I did not believe FISA had been involved in the January 6th
But it was. So you didn't... The answer is the FBI has broken so bad that people can go and engage in queries that when you come before the Congress to answer questions, you're like blissfully ignorant. You're blissfully ignorant as to the unlawful queries. Yep. You're blissfully ignorant.
That was Trump's worst hire, I think, was Ray. And honestly, the thing that I want to see Matt Gaetz go after first is investigate what happened in Wisconsin and Arizona. I mean, I don't know for sure, but if you just think about it, it seems like either they're getting paid a lot of money by the cartels or they're in fear for their lives from the cartels. Because only Arizona and California took that long to count. Let's see, what did River say? That's the great question we don't, and that's scary. Who is supposed to know then? Yeah, right? Yeah, if he doesn't know, I mean, that's the thing. A lot of these actors keep themselves in a manner where it's like need to know basis. Like, don't tell me any details where someone might ask me a question that I would have to lie. And that's pretty pathetic. Susan Collins, she's I don't know if she's a Republican or an independent. You know, Bernie Sanders is an independent. And I think there's one or two other independent U.S. senators. But I know her Liberty score is extremely low. And she says she opposes Matt Gaetz for Trump's attorney general. Which, again, won't matter when there's recess and Trump appoints them during recess. And I think that can last the whole term. He might have to do it twice during one term. But, of course, she wouldn't want Matt Gaetz. I mean, I'm just curious. Is she? I'm gonna look that up. I'm gonna see if Susan Collins is a Republican or an independent. Where is she from? Like, I know she's from New England. Susan Collins. Let's see. Maine. Yes. She's a Republican. Yep. Since 1997. Wow, that's a long time. Yeah, that's the swamp. The longer you're there, the more swampier you are. Retire, as people were saying. Yeah, look at that. They're getting so rich, man, that they like have so much money more than their salaries. And that's what made President Trump special. As he was at least worth, I mean, Forbes had estimated at one point, they said, we don't know for sure what Donald Trump is worth, but we know he's at least worth $4 billion. And that was around the time of the first election. So there is, in my opinion, there is nobody better than someone who is extremely wealthy before they enter politics. Because that allows them to avoid the compulsion to use government to generate wealth for themselves and to stab the taxpayer in the back. And then that's what so many people have done. Like, if you, pretty much all of Congress, if you took their yearly salary and you multiplied it times how many years they've been in Congress, and then you look at their net wealth, their net worth, their wealth / net worth, it doesn't make any, the math doesn't add up. It doesn't add up whatsoever. So the libs are melting down. Robert Reich, I don't know what this dude used to be on, like TV shows or something. Is this Meathead? Can somebody tell me? Is this a show about, like, I don't know if this dude was Meathead or maybe that was somebody else. But I think this is one of his first posts back. He disappeared for like a week after Trump won. So the richest man in the world spent $130 million to elect Donald Trump. Now he's being put in charge of a government efficiency agency while controlling corporations with billions in government contracts that are also under federal investigations. So see how that works, or see how this works? Well, let's be honest, Robert. They're under investigations because he allowed people to speak about the corruption of Democrats. And before he bought X, clean as a whistle. I mean, he had a few things where he tweeted about buying companies and the whoever controls like acquisitions. I forgot what obscure government agency when you combine companies. They're like, you can't tweet about that. Like, that's the only thing I remember him ever. He had to pay a fine for that. That was before he bought X or Twitter, old Twitter. After he bought Twitter, they literally sued him for not hiring illegal immigrants at Tesla. Tesla makes space weapons. If you hire an illegal immigrant and you manufacture military weapons, space weapons, that's a crime. But they are investigating him for not hiring. Well, let me be a little more precise. I said illegal immigrants. I meant non-citizens. I meant people that are here legally on a visa, and a lot of them super intelligent people, but they're not U.S. citizens. And to hire a non-U.S. citizen to work on military stuff will get you in prison. And they investigated him for not doing that. It's clown world. So we talk about investigations. They're corrupt. And I'm not going to say he's perfect. I don't know. I mean, people say he didn't actually invent Tesla cars. That's true. But he made them the biggest electric car manufacturer in the world. The guys he bought them from didn't do it. Anybody's open to criticism, right? But the left's criticism of him is just it's too much. I don't think it's worthy of that. And Kamala spent $1 billion on her campaign. She's $20 million in debt. Here's the stats. Kamala had 3x the money, 80% of the legacy media, 99% of Hollywood, 100% of the federal institutions. So that's the game with the left, right? They hate it when anybody else has the power. When they have the institutional power, they want to crush you like a bug if you don't fall in line with their wokeness. And I'm not talking about moderate liberals or voters. If you're a voter watching this, I'm talking about the modern federal Democrats. I mean, heck, I've met some great Democrats in the state. When I worked in state government, there was this old school Democrat that was just super chill, but not like the old school racist Democrat, but just had the old school Southern accent and believed in spending more on healthcare, but he wasn't a communist, right? That's, different days. But no, there's still people like that in state government. State government is this way less. There's a lot of corruption in state government, but it's way less than the federal government. The federal government is just, there's demons in D.C. I believe Benny Johnson when he says that he's seen demonic activity there. We're in spiritual warfare for sure. Take note that none of them can be arrested while they are in session, only when they are in recess. Retribution is coming. Yeah, we'll see how that goes, Carson. I just wanted them to fix things where the government can't be rigged again in the future, primarily. But justice is a legitimate concern as well. So this was probably a sarcastic comment. I'm just showing y'all how picky the left is being. I don't believe this dude graduated Harvard and Princeton, and he's saying germs are not a real thing. He may have said that jokingly, and maybe he hasn't. Well, that is kind of gross if he hasn't washed his hands in 10 years, but that's not quoted there. The only quote is he says germs are not real, but they're just hating on everything when this is their generals. Like my guess, I haven't done a deep dive into that story, right? But my guess is he was just being a smart ass to somebody, believing that it's just like, hey, our immune systems are really powerful. And they're getting on him on that when, like, yeah. Pretty insane, isn't it? The timeline we live in. Oh, here's that picture I wanted to show y'all. It was Obama that dared him to run. Obama said, you need to run, Trump, or like he made a joke about him. And he's not too happy. As opposed to Biden. Biden looks pretty relieved. I think Biden had this, when he ran, he knew that there was deep state pressure, but he didn't know. I mean, this is hypothesizing as well, that the deep state was as woke as it was recently. Because we used to be, like super anti-communist. Like in the 50s, McCarthyism. I mean, the 70s, the 80s, the Cold War. And although we had a deep state, they were going after communists. But I don't know if he anticipated them being as far left as they were, like forcing him. I mean, maybe he genuinely wanted to open the border. I don't know, to be honest. But I have a feeling that he was actually shocked. Because he was like hardcore pro-prison. He wrote the 1993 crime bill, which, Trump made the First Step Act that lets people get out of prison if they're non-violent and they, like, complete certain classes. I don't know that exact legislation. Maybe some violent people as well get out, but it's not like Joe Biden back in the day, 30 years ago, was like a Marxist, but his administration definitely was controlled by Marxists. There's like no doubt about that. As a former CIA case officer, I saw the men and women of the U.S. intelligence community put their lives on the line every day, and I am appalled by the nomination of Tulsi Gabbard. Are you now, Miss Abigail? You're in the 7th District of Virginia. You're up there in the swamp. Former law enforcement, mom of 3. Not only is she ill-prepared and unqualified, but she traffics in conspiracy theories and cozies up to dictators like Bashar al-Assad and Vladimir Putin. As a member of, and I'm just, I wanted to read this stuff to y'all so you know what the left is thinking. I know that y'all completely disagree. I disagree with this woman, but they're defending their deep state. That's what they feel like they've got to do. It's the only thing they have that their reputation was built on, their identity is built on. As a member of the House Intelligence Committee, I'm deeply concerned about what this nomination portends for our national security. My Republican colleagues with a backbone should speak out. I mean, she's kind of saying the same thing with Trump visited the leader of North Korea. I think that from what I understand, if somebody has more details about Tulsi Gabbard visiting Bashar al-Assad, I think that was the Syrian guy that was doing horrible stuff to his own people. She said she had went there to try to like have a peace talk to de-escalate things. And if that's true, that's exactly what Trump did when he went to North Korea. And it worked. And I think it was a great thing. James is here, and he said isn't that the same as Mark Milley? Wow, the chat just exploded. I don't know if I was glitching or what happened, but the chat just exploded. There's like 100 messages. I think maybe Streamlabs is glitching. Let's see here. I was looking for that treason comment to see what you were saying with that. CCP commanding officer without knowledge. Yeah, it does seem like he is the CCP commanding officer. It does seem like that. I'm just browsing to see if I missed anything. Let's see what kind of new Trump policy. This man's got a new policy every day. A whole new
Drug
set.
shortages were up by 30% with 295 active drug shortages just by the end of 2022 alone. It's a mess. There's currently a shortage of at least 14 critical cancer drugs in the United States. They just can't get it. And every month of delay, cancer treatment increases the risk of death by at least 10%. It's unthinkable that this could be happening in the United States of America in 2023. It is truly unbelievable.
I'm sorry to disrupt Trump. I've just got to reply to this comment. This guy is saying a Trump voter said in his last term, he's not hurting the people he needs to be hurting. Give it a few years. More people are going to be saying that again. I'm not sure if you're saying Trump is going to be bad for Americans or the deep state. I'm kind of curious what you mean by that.
Becoming a third world country very rapidly between our open borders and our bad elections. We are third world. But even more dangerously, the top producer of critical medicines that we rely on in the United States is a place called China. China produces 95% of all ibuprofen, 91% of hydrocortisone, 70% of all Tylenol, and nearly half of all penicillin. Can you imagine that?
That's scary.
This is not just a public health crisis, it's a national security crisis. As part of my plan to obtain total independence from China, we will phase in tariffs and import restrictions to bring back production of all essential medicines to the United States of America where they belong. I signed an executive order to begin this process in 2020, but Biden has shamefully failed to follow through. He wants it ended. He wants to take care of China. This is a matter of tremendous urgency. American lives are on the line, and it will be one of my top priorities as president. It will also create countless new American jobs.
Must be a Jones clip, I suppose. So, yeah. What's Mr. Jones got to say after the ad? Let me unmute.
Limited edition. Post.
Okay, you still got music. I just wanted to see what he had to say. Yeah, I mean, that's it's such a national security risk, exporting everything. And it's disgusting that Americans are, like some American business owners, obviously not all, are using Chinese slave labor, and they're talking about tariffs raising prices in America, and they're comparing that situation as more immoral than using little Chinese girls to make Nike shoes. And I don't believe that tariffs in the long run raise prices, because what you get is more American jobs created where people earn more money, and the things that, yeah, might cost a little more, well, they have a job where they were paid a lot more. So therefore, the thing that costs a little more doesn't feel like more because they earn more. And it takes a little time to do that, but we were starting to win the trade war with China. They can't compete with us in our manufacturing if we actually, and this is where this is not a diss on capitalism, it's corporatism. When you have these few monopolies that control the entire industry, I do think conservatives have not been good enough at going at specifically judges, at breaking up monopolies. I'm actually happy that Biden is going after Google for being a monopoly. I'm happy about that because they own too much of the ads. They own the ads and then they own the people that are like trying to serve the ads on their site to make money. So they're really on, both sides of the coin in one respect. And you've got these corporate conglomerates that are buying Congress. They're paying Congress to pass bills, and then Congress will pass a bill that's favorable to the corporation, and then the corporation in turn will donate to the politician, and then the politician will pass another law that's favorable to the corporation, and then the corporation will ad infinity, or whatever it is, ad infinitum. It just keeps going on, and that's not a problem with capitalism. That's a problem with Congress being corrupt. And you got to wonder, that's like the one thing that the founders left out. I wonder what they were thinking. Maybe it's just because everybody was super based and like carried around their Bibles, and they didn't see America turning into like a godless nation and change the way it was. Accidental, I'm not going to read your full name. That's funny though. 1 week and 1 day changes the world. 1 week and 1 day, 8 days from today is the 21st. Not sure what you're referencing. You might be saying something about a sentencing or something. But yeah, these corporations, I think we'll get them under control. We've got to stop BlackRock. BlackRock is taking your money. I mentioned this again last night too, but there's just a few things that you could talk about all day that are the central evils, and people might get tired of talking about them, and that's legitimate. But that's one of those few things where it's really that bad that it is, they're deciding which corporations succeed and fail. And if you're not woke, you're going to have less of a chance of success. You can still succeed, but you're going to have a harder time getting investment money. On the other hand, if you're woke, it's way easier to get investment money. And to prove is purely political, Elon Musk, they rated his, I think it was Tesla, one of his companies, they said it was environmentally unfriendly. And electric cars are environmentally unfriendly, but for the left, they're supposed to ignore that, or at least they do ignore that, even though, they mine all that cobalt. Let's see what Elon Musk has been talking about. Let's go to his profile. My show is glitching in and out. That means I need to add more upload speed. I will do that, Mark. If anybody else is having me freeze, let me know. I have really high upload speed, so I shouldn't be freezing. That just means I need to turn up the bit rate in this software, which is, again, been a pain in the butt, but we're learning it. Let's see. The big government machine, it's afraid. Liberals realizing it's only been a week into a 4-year term that hasn't started. That's funny.
When we'd have a vote for getting rid of waste, fraud, and abuse. And I said, but that's the nature of government.
Yeah, that's what they're good at.
And they're always, and a lot of times that's what they want to do. They want to be more efficient at hiding their stuff and taking care of their special interests. But that waste, fraud, and abuse. And I think, yes, you want to do that, but the argument about the Fed would work into this. Just changing the people at the Fed to do the same job isn't going to work. You have to eventually get, as long as you have a monetary authority that has all this power, you can forget about it. They're going to be efficient only to service the people who guarantees that they get this power to do that.
Yeah.
So that's something they have to deal with. But I know, we know, and we have visited with both Musk and Ramaswamy, and they're very, very dedicated, and I think they truly believe that they can cut a couple $1 trillion off the budget. But I don't think, my problem with that is that will awaken a lot of people. You can't cut you can't cut $2 trillion or without annoying a couple people.
Yeah.
So, but it's going to happen, because if they don't do it deliberately with a policy, it'll be reduced. The debt's going to be reduced just by the depreciation of the dollar, and the debt and the malinvestment gets liquidated.
Yeah.
And this is exactly what Elon Musk said. It's going to be uncomfortable for a little while we fix the economy. And specifically, the people that are, there's a lot of legitimate people that do need disability, that do need government assistance, that have worked really hard and got in a freak accident, and they pay their taxes. They did what Americans are supposed to do, and they need it. But there's a lot of people that don't. And I think a lot of those people they're going to start setting new standards, and those people that don't are going to be kicked off. And the unfortunate side effect of that, I hope we don't walk ourselves into a complete financial collapse. He's right. If you cut $2 trillion, you're going to have a lot of people that love big government spending that are going to be angry, and they may vote for Democrats. And that could be a consequence of, you lose an election over that. Or it could just be the people that are in the agencies, like their money and their power, that are in the government, and they just wait. They have a 10-year plan till, Musk is supposed to be finished, he and Ramaswamy, by 2026. They're given 2 years, or maybe 3 years, something like that, to finish their cutting of the federal budget. He could also be talking about people that have a long-term plan to take vengeance on Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, because they do love that money. But I mean, if we don't stop, we are going to go completely bankrupt. I wanted to look at this comment here from Kelly. She says, "We can't afford our medications anyway. A friend fighting cancer was just prescribed medication that is $5,000 per pill. And he is supposed to take 2 a day for 3 weeks. 2 a day for $10,000 a day for 21 days. So your friend has to take $210,000 worth of pills? That's pretty wild. Yeah, that's our medical system is corrupt too. I don't know that I believe in the public health care. I know a lot of Europeans are like, we got great, wonderful health care. I've looked at the data, and a lot of European countries do have pretty good health care that have the single pay, but it's not as good as American health care. They wait longer on average. At like the United Kingdom, I know, Catherine, you're in Australia. Y'all have some of the best public health care in the world, but your private health care is actually better. It's on par with American private health care. I've looked at the numbers, but if you're like in the UK, you need to see a specialist. You're going to wait 3 months sometimes. Here in the United States, you can get that in 2 weeks. If you let the government take over anything like health care, it's just going to get bloated. It's going to be bureaucratic. And the problem we have is that the FDA is a revolving door to big pharma executive office suites. You go, you do your time in the FDA, you approve all these drugs that, like, who knows what they do, and then you get out and you collect your fat check in the private sector while working at one of these companies. That's one of our big problems, and the fact that they get to, I don't know that you want price. They're definitely manipulating prices. You don't want communist price controls like Kamala Harris was talking about on houses, but you do want to expose the manipulation where it's in public, where it's known, and look at the numbers. And maybe it's more exposed than I know. But there's something we've got to fix for sure with our system, and it's not going to be one payer, because we used to have, before Obamacare, way cheaper health care. I mean, I'm 35. I remember being 20 and having like health care and paying a premium. And obviously when you get older, it gets more expensive. But I've talked to, I've like heard studies, surveys, millions of Americans saying their health care has been a lot more, costs a lot more. Let's see. Yeah, I'm just seeing if I didn't miss any other stories tonight. I know we've got Matt Gaetz, we've got Tulsi Gabbard, we've got Elon Musk, we've got Vivek Ramaswamy, Marco Rubio. I wasn't exactly happy either about Kristi Noem, but again, she's not in charge of free speech. So I'm thankful for that, because she tried to pass legislation, hate speech legislation, that literally would not pass. It's unconstitutional. What's this guy say? If you're hurt by a rainbow, you need to take a long look in the mirror and ask yourself what kind of man you are. That's not it, man. It's the cultural Marxism. It's like, why do you got to have it everywhere? Why does it have to be like in everybody's face? Yeah, people are going crazy. There was a guy that, yeah, you wish, David Korn, you wish that about Matt Gaetz. He's clean, or he wouldn't be able to go after the director, Ray, like that. Who was he talking to? Laura, what's her name? She's from Colorado. What was I going to say? There's so many topics, so much news. But God is good, and we are heading in a great direction. I don't know if the liberals are ever going to stop freaking out. It's going to be, I mean, thankfully we've got the House and the Senate. And even though we've got rhinos, they're still marginally better than Democrats. Marginally, because they can be pressured, whereas Democrats are like completely shameless and will just act in a way that their constituents don't mind. Like whatever bills they pass, they think is good. If a conservative tries to pass a bad bill, conservatives will say it's bad. Just like I said, the Kristi Noem trying to, get rid of free speech is bad. This dude is so based. He's like Jesus out. I mean, yeah, he did. He's kind of like Trump. He's got a Trump backstory where he did cheat on his wife, and obviously, that's not good. But at the same time, it kind of proves that he's a high-status man. He is not. He's culpable, and he shouldn't have done that. But I don't think that's going to affect his ability to be a good Secretary of State. Tim Pool says, any Republican who obstructs or blocks Matt Gaetz will see full political force I can muster to make sure you lose your next primary. John Fetterman on Donald Trump's cabinet appointments. I would describe it as God-tier level trolling. Let's go to Truth Social, and then I'll close it out. I know I don't have a big timeline of things lined up. I used to have more time. Right now, I'm just like grinding. Again, being a marketer is a crazy lifestyle. It's like somebody's web page breaks or their ad cost goes up because it's getting close to Christmas. They freak out. They're like, why does my ad cost go up? And I've had less time. But let's see what Trump's done, and then I'll close out. Let's see. Yeah, that was Matt Gaetz. What we got here? Old Shifty Schiff. Yeah, Adam Schiff, he pushed the Russia hoax thing, man. It's just, half of the country still thinks Trump is a Russian asset, and it's so disgusting that our media would run that kind of warfare on our own people. And hopefully whatever that law is that legalized propaganda against Americans, hopefully that law will be repealed. These House committee members should be referred for criminal prosecution. I mean, they already destroyed all the evidence, and yeah, they put people away, like trespassing people for years. It's pretty crazy. I think they're telling some of the people to leave the country, actually. Elon Musk earlier said his pronouns are still arrest Fauci. That's, what am I? Oh, I'm looking at replies. I thought Trump had reposted all this. I was like, damn, Trump, you're like, got everybody on the whole list, but that's other people commenting. Let's see. Yeah, Tulsi. John Thune. Let's see what he says about John Thune. I mean, this will be, if he can have a diplomatic, but like boss mode Trump status like he normally is with Thune, I think he can move a lot better than Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell was, I mean, again, his Liberty score is not great, John Thune, but I think he's, from what I've read, the little bit I've read, he's way better than Mitch McConnell. Congratulations to Senator John Thune, the newly elected Senate Majority Leader. He moves quickly and will do an outstanding job. I look forward to working with him and Senator John Barrasso, Senate Majority Whip, Tom Cotton, Senate Republican Conference Chairman, Shelley Moore Capito, Senate Republican Policy. I don't even know what some of these do, and I have a bachelor's of science and political science. It's just like that government they make it as complicated as possible. It seems anyways. I mean, I'm sure there's some legitimacy to these roles, but there's so many of them. What is a policy committee chairman? That would make sense. A conference vice chairman. That's kind of maybe like a whip. National Republican Senatorial Committee chairman. Okay, that's a lot of leadership. Who do I trust in this leadership? Tim Scott, he's got his record has risen, his Liberty score. And nobody's going to like James Lankford again since he worked with the Biden administration on that horrible border invasion bill. Barrasso's a rhino. Tom Cotton's I think he has a C Liberty score. He's somewhere in between. So leadership we've got a couple MAGA in there. We've got a couple. Bought and paid for. Yeah, they don't like him. The people on Truth Social, they're ultra MAGA. I mean, you got to be if you have a Truth Social account, you got to be ultra MAGA. Let's check the comments over here. What's there to freak out about? River, I heard it was the mob. The shit show has arrived. Or the river. Okay, something about dad inside who knows river would not surprise me. I don't know if you're speaking in a metaphor or not. Tim Scott's good, Billy. Tim Scott is good. These are the kind of things that you can take to the bank that Trump is I would say he's greater than a once in a generation politician. I would say, and I'm not just talking about my feelings. These are empirical things where the world is folding around him. And I think it's God. It has chosen him for this because a lot of people forget that Christianity, one feature of it is the upside down kingdom. I hear liberals say, Trump is such this evil man because he had so many wives and he cheated and he's horrible. And those things are bad. Yeah, I don't condone those things, but you know what? God chooses people that are imperfect so he can demonstrate his glory to the world. Like, that's part of his history, part of his patterns that he's done all throughout the Bible. The people he's chosen have been not perfect and have done amazing things. But anyways, the point I was getting to, listen to all of this. Liz Wheeler, Trump is president-elect for 2 days. Stock market hits record high. Migrant caravan at the border dissolves. Hamas calls for end to war. Bitcoin hits record high. Putin ready to end Ukraine war. Qatar kicks out Hamas leaders. EU will buy U.S. gas, not Russian gas. Putin will sell oil in U.S. dollars. The dollar's back. Zelensky phones Trump and Elon. New York mayor ends vouchers for illegals. They're going to be walking home soon, or we'll give them flights at least. Mexico to stop migrants at the U.S. border. China wants to work peacefully with the U.S. Big U.S. company to move out of China. President-elect for 2 days. Yeah. That's I would say that's more than a once in a generation. I mean, I wouldn't have lied for Reagan. I know that he obviously was maybe the 80s MAGA. I don't know if somebody would call it that, or if they felt it was a different vibe. I know he was hilarious. He told that joke. He said there was a kid selling puppies at a Democrat convention outside, and he sold so many puppies, and then he showed up at the Republican convention. He's like, hey, those puppies are $20 more. They're the same puppies. He's like, yeah, but now they got their eyes open. I didn't tell it as good as he did, but man, that's his rhetoric was good. He sounded MAGA to me. I'm confused why he let the illegals into California, but otherwise he sounded MAGA to me. But God's good. The good things are ahead. Good things are ahead, y'all. God bless this country. We're going to MAGA. We bring us back to the Bible and the Constitution. In Jesus' name, amen. Follow, subscribe if you're not. We got some great stuff coming up. I'm going to try to stay streaming pretty regularly. I've got a lot of work stuff to do, but I'm going to try to stay pretty consistent and just keep y'all up to date on the headlines. My shorter videos will be more on topic. These streams are just going to be, I just kind of ADHD and go through as many stories as I can because there's so many headlines. You could get just lost in them all day. I kind of enjoy it, honestly, just like reading because they'll hide the good stories. Sometimes the good stories will be hidden on page 3. Like, metaphorically speaking, it's all digital. But anyways, y'all have a good one. You said Reagan was tough, but at least we felt fairly safe in this country, and we're proud of ourselves. Amen to that. Amen to that. Nancy says he cheated with Elon Musk. There is zero evidence of that, Nancy. I would challenge you to, so before I close out, I am about to, I would challenge you to type in the comments when this video ends your sources for that, Nancy, that Starlink was used to count ballots. There is zero evidence that Starlink has any ability to tabulate ballots. And you should be asking the question, why did Kamala Harris not outperform Joe Biden in a single county in the entire United States? There's 3,100 counties in the a little over 3,100 counties in the United States. Ask yourself the question why she didn't outperform him in a single one of them. Because she is a horrible, untalented politician. You want to be liberal? Fine, be liberal. But if you say that Kamala Harris is a talented politician, you're lying to yourself. Joe Biden had a better chance at beating Trump. He did. So it's not going to get overturned. It just doesn't happen that way after elections.